Rewind-A-Dynamite from the post-wrestling site. AEW, lighting up the fuse. Sit back and enjoy the bubbly. As we hear from John and Wai Ting. Where we're going, we don't need roads. And if the buck stops here, this thing might blow. Everything you hear are opinions of the show. And if you don't like it, go to the forums and let them know.
And welcome everybody to Rewind-A-Dynamite. My name is Wai Ting, and a lot of you may not have been expecting me to lead the show today, but some late-breaking news, unfortunately, from the John Pollock household is that, unfortunately, John had to deal with a bit of a flooding issue in his basement. Now, I was told in an update exclusively here at Post Wrestling that the issues have since been resolved, but nonetheless, obviously, it took John away from being able to watch Dynamite tonight. So, pinch hitting for him, one of the most reliable men, and today, I think, one of the most busiest men in all of professional wrestling, podcasting, the one, the only John Siino. Thank you so much for being here, John.
Thank you for those kind words. Yeah, Wednesday is my day off from my shoot job, as they say, so I'm free. You got me on the right night. It's my work day, so I'm working from morning to nighttime. So let's extend my shift for tonight. I
mean, I'm free. I think, let's put a bit of an asterisk there because you were in charge of also writing the written report over at postwrestling.com during Dynamite, as well as, many of your other duties, including a new member of the CageMatch.com team.
Yeah, I just was invited to that team earlier this week.
CageMatch.net, apologies.
CageMatch.net. Actually, as I attended Monday Night Raw this Monday, they shot me a message. It was like, hey, I've been contributing to them, like helping them out since like 2016. And they're like, hey, you just want to join the team and just edit yourself instead of emailing us consistently? So I was like, sure, why not? As I do my research for Shot in the Dark and all these shows, I like to time the matches and everything. So I tend to help them out anyway. So they went ahead and added me on. So today was my first day doing that. Then I watched all my shows for Shot in the Dark because now that's on Thursdays. So I do all my watching on Wednesdays before I record on Thursday morning. Then I do the Dynamite report. I tried to squeeze in one episode of the Wu-Tang show that happened to premiere on today of all days. So I watched one episode out of 3. And then I got the message from you. I was like, hey, as I'm watching RZA dealing with his flood on this Wu-Tang show, you're texting me about John and his flood. I'm like, art imitates life or whatever the case is. So yeah, here I am. So let's extend my shift. A nice 16-hour shift for me today, I want to say, just doing all this work. So let's continue.
And you're not even supposed to be working today. So thank you again for being here, John Siino. We have a lot to get through on this particular show. We have a little bit of news, and then we get into our Dynamite review. And then at the end, John is going to join us. John Siino is going to join us for our Elimination Chamber preview, because we may not get a chance to talk to those of you that aren't Cafe members, which you should be. But if you aren't a Cafe member, well, we probably won't be able to talk to you until Saturday. So we're going to go through Elimination Chamber for a little bit later on tonight. But first, some news items of the day. And of course, this was something that John really wanted to speak on. And of course, that was the passing of Jarrett, who, the legendary promoter who passed away earlier this week. Jarrett was one of the most important promoters and figures in the history of the industry. And the news of the 80-year-old's passing was shared throughout Tuesday, with many remembering his influence and contributions after a lifetime involved in professional wrestling. So, as I mentioned, John actually did a whole lot of research that he wanted to deliver tonight, but he obviously wasn't able to join us. So what he is going to do instead is he's going to record something talking about the life of and career of Jarrett. If you want a bit more on that right now, you can go over to postwrestling.com, where John wrote a tremendous recap of the man's career. So do look out for that a little bit later on this week. Let's talk a little bit, John, about Ring of Honor, because several announcements came through today. The first of which is that ROH tapings have been confirmed for the end of February at Universal Studios in Florida, of course. The first set of ROH tapings are under Tony Khan is set for this month, as first reported by Fightful Select and Voices of Wrestling. Tony Khan has confirmed on Busted Open Radio that the tapings will take place on Saturday, February the 25th, and Sunday, February 26th at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. It marks the first taping since Tony Khan purchased the brand last year and staged 3 pay-per-view events throughout 2022. This was followed by news from Tony Khan on SI.com, who announced that the first episode of these new Ring of Honor tapings will debut on Thursday, March 2nd on the Honor Club streaming platform as the promotion gets set for Supercard of Honor at the end of March in Los Angeles. The date coincides with the one-year anniversary of Khan's announcement on Dynamite that he had purchased Ring of Honor from Sinclair Broadcasting along with its tape library, which will be available as well on Honor Club. Siino, how excited are you for these ROH tapings? What do you think of it taking place at Universal Studios?
I mean, that's where they've been taping the Tuesdays AEW Dark, so you have like very similar, I'm guessing a very similar style to what they're going to be doing with Ring of Honor. My only like negative about it is how much like is really going to be happening on these shows, because these spoilers tend to go out like live as they're happening when they do the AEW Dark, when people are putting photos and results online already. So I don't see anything significant happening on these shows, unfortunately. That's like my only like downside on it. But it's, you know, it's obviously good to get some of the talent that we probably don't see on AEW or haven't seen in a while finally get a chance to showcase. I'm hoping for some sort of like change as far as like the look of the set. I don't want it to look like AEW Dark. I want it to look totally different, change up as much as you possibly can, maybe even filming differently. I saw somebody online, I think it was on Post Wrestling message, the message board, about how they hope that like Tony Khan isn't in charge of writing it, just to give it a different flair and a different style. So I don't know if he has other people that he intends on helping out, because he's doing a lot on his plate, obviously. So hopefully he can get somebody to help him out, write the storylines and do something a little bit different than what we're seeing. Because I don't want to see another AEW Dark, basically. I want to see something totally different and fresh.
Mm-hmm. I have a feeling these tapings and this product overall is mainly going to be sold on sort of word of mouth, coming off of what hopefully are going to be killer matches. You know, I don't even know if so much if it's the storylines or all that are really going to be the hook for it. I mean, I think it's going to be some report from a live attendee there that's going to tell everybody, you have to see this match. This was, you know, a match of the year candidate. This is the thing that I think, you know, has worked out best for Rampage thus far, and maybe even for something like a Dark, and especially if you're going to charge somebody a price to watch essentially what hopefully is not just an extension of Dark or even Rampage, you kind of need to bring that level of quality. So I think as a cost efficient way of starting out, you know, it makes a lot of sense. Like at this point, I mean, this is an online show. And you know, you're going to be limited, I suppose, you know, versus maybe in terms of income versus a TV deal, for instance. I think as a way to start out, it makes sense. We'll see if the quality can maybe match up to, you know, the demands of this monthly pricing.
Do you see possibly, like, maybe not right away, but in the long run, exclusive stars that you can only see on Ring of Honor? Like, I doubt like Claudio, who's obviously the champion right now, will only be on Ring of Honor content, but like maybe that's like one of the hooks is like, if you want to see like Wheeler Yuta, if you want to see Mark Briscoe, if you want to see Claudio, you have to pay for the Honor Club to see them. I mean, that might work, right?
I think so. But you know, it's sort of like a bit of a double-edged sword, because like certain talent, you're kind of like AEW TV needs the big names too, right? You know, like if it was the Briscoes and they still were in that weird sort of like, you know, banning from TBS or in TNT, I think they would have been the perfect type of hook, you know, to get people to exclusively sign up to Honor Club to see them. And you know, obviously, unfortunately, that's not such a thing anymore. It's not possible now. Is a Tony Khan willing to, I don't know, sequester Samoa Joe onto ROH? Maybe that's what he wants. And maybe you could sacrifice the Samoa Joe, you know, to not be on AEW TV. It'll be interesting to see how they play with it, and how much co-promotion will continue to exist on AEW television.
Maybe we'll get a draft. We'll have a Ring of Honor AEW draft.
and maybe it'll mean absolutely nothing, like most yep. of the wrestling drafts tend to. Let us know in the comments and then in the chat room. Are you guys going to be signing up for Ring of Honor's Honor Club? You know, this is certainly of interest to myself and everybody. Okay, let's go up next to some ratings, news, and notes here. First of all, with WWE Raw. For the fourth consecutive week, WWE Raw was the top show on cable on Monday, while doing a huge number in Canada. The February 13th edition from Brooklyn averaged 1,812,000 viewers and approximately 613,000, which is a 0.47 in the 18 to 49 demo, and ranked first among cable originals on Monday, according to WrestleNomics and Showbuzz Daily. Raw finished ahead of the college basketball game between Miami and North Carolina on ESPN, Below Deck on Bravo, and another game between Texas and Texas Tech on ESPN. Over into NXT. NXT posted its highest figures over the past month, while MLW Underground Wrestling dropped outside of the top 150 in the cable programming. The February 14th edition of NXT averaged 640,000 viewers and approximately 201,000.15 in the 18 to 49 demo, ranking 17th among cable originals on Tuesday, also according to WrestleNomics and Showbuzz Daily. It was NXT's strongest performance since New Year's Evil on January the 10th. You've been keeping up with NXT, Siino?
Yeah, I was able to squeeze that in today at some point. It was a pretty good show. I'm trying to remember exactly like what the big things were, but I know like the opening match was good with Tyler Bate and Grayson Waller. I like what they're doing with Grayson Waller and Shawn Michaels. I don't know what the end game is because I don't think it's gonna end up being Waller and Michaels having a match. So maybe Michaels brings in like a new signee, like a Dragon Lee or somebody to kind of like, you know, fight in his honor.
That's exactly who I would think of when I think of the next coming of Shawn Michaels is Dragon Lee. Yeah, but no, I think the viral stuff like they've been doing with Grayson Waller has been very effective. It's something different, and I think it speaks to maybe a younger demographic that, you know, is following a lot more on social media. I mean, maybe the best social media build since Dominic Mysterio. Did you catch that Valentine's Day special?
I did. I was upset. At first, I thought nothing was gonna happen. I'm like, oh, they have to do something. And then the video was tweeted out. I'm like, yes, this is great. This is exactly what we needed. Did you enjoy that more than the Brooks Jensen Valentine's Day snafu? Did you catch that?
The Valentine's Day snafu. I'm not so sure about the snafu. What do you mean?
So he went on a date. It was Brooks Jensen and what's her name? Kiana James went on a date, and the entire time Fallon Henley was trying to warn him that she's been talking to somebody named Zach that she professed her love to. And then as soon as he was going for the kiss on Kiana James after their wonderful Valentine's Day date, here comes Fallon Henley saying, no, don't do it. She's in love with Zach. And she's like, yeah, I said I love you, Zach, because he's my brother. And Zach opens the door, and there's Brooks Jensen just shaking his head, so disappointed in Fallon Henley ruining his Valentine's Day.
You know, it's a date of it's a holiday of highs and lows. Valentine's Day is, so hopefully a better St. Patrick's Day for all involved there. All right, we're gonna proceed a little bit in a little bit with our Dynamite review, but it's a very special edition of the show that unfortunately John Pollock isn't here for, because we actually have a title sponsor, John Siino, and that is from NordVPN. Are you currently using any sort of VPN, Siino?
Not currently, but I'll be honest, I was using it earlier when I was watching my my Wu-Tang show.
There's no way I would have been able to do today's show without a VPN, okay? And I don't know, maybe John like specifically like abandoned us with this, you know, terrible flood just to really kind of test out like the functionality of this thing, because I've been wanting to use a VPN for a while, and it's mainly because I've wanted to use AEW Plus on Fight. And why would I need AEW Plus when I can watch AEW on TV? Well, there's a very little special thing called the ability to rewind, to pause, and to watch the show, without a picture-in-picture ad that I really, really, really welcome through the use of AEW Plus. And unfortunately, of course, it's not available to people in Canada or the US to purchase. So I had to use a VPN, and NordVPN is something that I've heard a lot about, and they are incredibly reputable. I was able to sign up through the UK, and for the past 2 weeks, it's been a complete game changer for me. Like during Dynamite tonight, I had to start the show about 20 minutes late. Still, I was able to, at some point during the show, refill my coffee. I took a break to check on Twitter, rewound several times to catch up on a move I missed, or to catch a match that Excalibur mentioned that I certainly didn't hear. Plus, I didn't have to sit through any picture-in-picture commercials. In addition, I could now browse and even sign up for a Netflix account from another part of the world, plus the, of course, several benefits of added online security from browsing and downloading. This month happens to be Nord's 11th birthday, and they've got a special offer. Every purchase of a 2-year plan will get you an additional bonus of either 3 months or 1 year added to your subscription. And if you sign up right now at nordvpn.com/postwrestling, you also get a bonus month on top of that. So that is a minimum of a 4-month bonus on all 2 years plans for as little as $335 a month. Use nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Try it out for 30 days, and if you don't like it, they guarantee your money back. Again, nordvpn.com/postwrestling. Give us a little bit of love if you decide to sign up for one of these, and let them know that this type of advertising works. And again, nordvpn.com/postwrestling. We thank them for their support of Post. Okay, Siino, are you ready to talk a little bit about tonight's Dynamite?
Let's go.
Oh boy, this show. So heading into tonight, we are coming from Laredo, Texas, of course, and we start things off with a Jarrett graphic, of course, and we start the show off with Jeff Jarrett showing up. He was originally scheduled to be a part of tonight's show, and as Tony Khan discussed today, Jarrett was adamant that he participate and perform. And he is the first person out on the entire show. And the announcers make mention of the professionalism of Jeff Jarrett coming out and competing under circumstances. We get Max Caster, of course, topical as always, telling Jeff Jarrett that your dad was a legend, but you are a douchebag. You're a nepotism baby like the Ass Boys. Valentine's Day, you got no play. And he called that TNA lockdown. What did you think of Caster's rap tonight?
Yeah, once he mentioned his dad, I got worried for a second. I'm like, well, where this is going? Because you never really see positivity in his raps. So it's good that he was able to turn that around. And of course, he got a little TNA shot. You can't have a rap diss against Jeff Jarrett and not mention TNA. But like you guys been mentioning for weeks, we need to hear Double J's raps, right? We need to hear him spit a freestyle or something back to Max Caster. It's got to be coming one of these days.
I hope so. I really do. Because what are we doing here? Okay, come on. We have a guy. Well, at the very least, maybe he can get like Road Dogg to like ghostwrite it for him. Lip sync it for him, give me a rap video. They got to go full on with like, the Jeff Jarrett rapper gimmick, the way that they did with the country music gimmick way back. So we, of course, in this match had a rare in-ring appearance from Sanjay Dutt. He, really didn't do a whole lot more than he usually does as a manager here. He tagged in, stomped a few times, tagged out, took the leg drop finish. It was a totally safe sort of a match as usual, but it's always nice to see Sanjay Dutt on the graphic here. The heels take turns beating Billy up, and that's when the Ass Boys come out on the ramp to watch. Billy Gunn at that point takes everybody out, leaving Sanjay alone. But here comes Jeff Jarrett with the Golden Globe, and at this point, everybody comes in. Orange ends up hitting Sanjay with the orange punch. They're about to hit Scissor Me Timbers on Sanjay, but the heels keep stopping them, and they each kind of take turns to try to complete this Scissor Me Timbers. First, Billy tries to finish it, but he gets stopped. Orange then comes in to try to finish it, but he gets stopped. Finally, we go around the whole circle, and Bowens finally comes back, and he hits Scissor Me Timbers to Sanjay, giving the Faces the win. What do you think of the opening match here?
First of all, shout out to Sanjay's gear. He had like a pencil tie, like actually looked like a pencil, which was pretty cool. It was a good match from what you expect. There was a lot of comedy spots, but I feel like this is something that was probably needed. Obviously, like with the whole Jerry Jarrett situation and whatnot. I just don't know what's happening with this Golden Globe. Like, are we gonna get a payoff? Is it just something like they're gonna be using as a permanent weapon? Like, are we getting the return of Paul Walter Hauser at one of these shows? Like, are we gonna wait for the Oscars now? Or like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know where that's going with that. But it's good to see like this is just something for the Acclaimed to do for now until they go after the tag team titles again.
That dude seems like such a huge wrestling fan that I wouldn't be surprised if he came in for like an actual match, perhaps, at some point.
Yeah, I can see that.
For now, it just seems like to be another weapon. That's probably a bit easier to carry around than a guitar everywhere. But I thought it was a fun, comedy match. And considering the circumstances, I mean, you again have to kind of like be really impressed at Jeff Jarrett being able to come out here and essentially do a fun comedy match, under the despite everything. So it was really great to see him, and I thought it was a fun light opener compared to the usual opening fare for Rampage. What wasn't necessarily fun nor light was Bryan Danielson here. This is right after last week's match where his face is just absolutely full of blood. And they record an interview with him in the back as he talks about MJF. He says, "The die has been cast. The dice have been rolled. Max is scared as shit, and I feel like gold." As he proceeds to just cut this very fiery, bloody, intense promo from Danielson. Some of the more it's a bit strange, for me, like, being so used to seeing this guy like tend to his garden on Total Bellas, and then to kind of see this version of him. But your thoughts on Bryan Danielson tonight?
Yeah, he even called himself the boogeyman as well, which is like, ooh. He kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you're going to get this reference, but some people who have kids that might play online games, there's this game called Hello Neighbor, which is like this neighbor who seems like a nice guy. He's like a gardener. He takes care of his house, whatever. But he's really scary, like when he starts chasing you around. So that's what he reminds me of. He reminds me of the bad guy from Hello Neighbor. It's like
an evil gardener?
Yeah. If this was 1995 WWF, that would be his gimmick, right? He'd come out with the whole overalls and everything. Kind of like what he was wearing when he's part of the Wyatt family. That would be his gear.
Yeah. When Bryan Danielson gets to the age of like 60, and I'm sure he'll still be wrestling by that point, I think that'd be, quite the character for him. Evil gardener. All right, up next, I thought this would be the main event, but instead it's our second match of the night. It is the Texas Tornado tag match between Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli taking on Rush and Preston Vance here. The action begins during BCC's entrance as they brawl through the crowd during commercial. Hangman Page is seen watching from the back. Moxley is on the apron as Vance spears him through the ropes, landing onto Claudio and Rush on the outside. At this point, Mox is busted open. We go into another commercial with a lot of good double team cocky heel work from LFI through the break. Vance comes in. He grabs a chain and uses it to hit Mox repeatedly, getting a 2 count. Claudio then grabs the chain and just beats Vance repeatedly with it, and now Vance is busted open. Claudio puts Vance in a giant swing, but Rush breaks that up at 2. There's a lot of blood coming out of Preston Vance at this point. Jose comes in, he hits Claudio with the chair, and then out comes Wheeler Yuta to take Jose to the back. Vance is choking Mox with the chain, but Mox counters, turns it into the hammer anvil elbows, and then beautifully flips him in using the chain into this armbar with the chain for the tap out as the BCC win. Your thoughts on this Texas Tornado tag match?
See, it's matches like this that make me want to sign up to NordVPN because, like, when I use the TNT browser, I can't pause. First of all, I can't rewind. So I have to do everything live as is. And I don't see anything in picture. And I like to time the matches. So whenever they start fighting on the outside before the match, I'm like, please do not start the match because I can't hear the bell ring. So I need to see this. So this is why I need to get a VPN. The match itself, though, was wonderful. I like how commentary brought up the history between Preston and Moxley, where Moxley dominated in the first 2 matches they had and kind of like Preston holding like a grudge against him for this. And then they also kind of had a standoff at one point between Rush and Claudio, which makes me think that could potentially be a match for Supercard of Honor or any of these Ring of Honor tapings that are coming.
Mm-hmm. They tend to like, I don't know if like they book these sort of matches based off of like prior occurrences, or if it's just they're booking these matches and then they'll do their research to see what sort of connection these two might have had prior. And it's usually pretty effective in at least, building a little bit of story for what is essentially a bit of a random match here. But a good showcase here for the BCC and Rush as well, coming off of last week's, I think very well-reviewed match against Bryan Danielson. So
there was a couple of scary spots when like Moxley like slingshotted Rush into the barricade. He kind of like awkwardly kind of like slinged him there. And then also when Preston did the suicide dive, like threw like Rush and Moxley onto Claudio, like that was pretty wild. But yeah, obviously they both bled. It's funny because I think his new shirt is like, I forgot what Moxley's new shirt says. Something about blood is forever or something, or it's beautiful. Yeah. Blood is beautiful.
Blood is beautiful.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's a shirt that, of course, is gonna sell.
Yeah. I guess so. It really, I don't know if it was a shirt. I don't think it was in white, but I think it should have been in white, and that he should have proceeded to bleed on it, and maybe it could come with like blood stains. Can they add Jon Moxley blood stains at Pro Wrestling Tees?
Yeah, I'm sure they can. Why not?
Yeah, I'm sure. All right, we cut to the back immediately after the match, and Kip Sabian and Butcher and the Blade are attacking Hangman Page, and Sabian and Page are about to have a match tonight. We then follow that up with an interview between Wardlow and Jim Ross. What did you think of having Jim Ross in this sort of backstage interview situation?
Honestly, it's the role that works for him. Whenever he did it in WWE and whenever he does it in AEW, it always like brings out the best, I feel like, out of the person he's interviewing. And I kind of enjoy just having him some sort of presence on Dynamite. And if they're not going to use him on commentary, they're not going to use him in any backstage segments. Why not do a sit down? You know, I feel like he's like the perfect person to kind of sit down with and kind of like bring out the best out of a wrestler. And a story like this, like Jim Ross is like there to react to it in the proper way.
I totally agree. I think JR is really good at these. He always seems incredibly like genuine and authentic as he's asking these, you know, fake professional wrestling storyline questions. It's a way to get Jim Ross on camera, and I would argue it's as valuable to see his face on camera as it is to hear his voice these days. Plus, there's the benefit of editing, so you can really kind of like, you know, if there's anything that you need to clean up, you can clean up. But I think it's a very good use of JR.
Yeah, also, if you're like an average like wrestling viewer, just that happens to be on Twitter and you see like a picture or you see this video and you just see Jim Ross, you're probably going to just click on it. If you know nothing about AEW, you're like, oh, who's this guy? I don't know, that's sitting down with Jim Ross, and, you know, what's his video about? So it kind of gives a good reasoning to just see his face there.
So what this video was about was Wardlow talking about his father. He says from the time he was 8 until he was a young adult, his dad was not in his life. They reunited when he became a young adult, but that unfortunately was not too long before he realized that his father had developed stage 4 cancer. And after his father passed, after seeing him go through cancer treatment, Wardlow decided to grow out his hair and his beard. And Samoa Joe took that away from him when he cut his hair off. He didn't just cut his hair off, he cut off his connection to his father. So some deep storytelling and some emotional storytelling here from Wardlow. What do you think of this segment?
No, for sure. Like, I didn't expect this at all. Like, when they said he's like had something important to tell us, I really didn't think they were going to go in this direction. I knew nothing about this. I'm not sure if anybody did. But like, I'm very curious to see what Joe's rebuttal is going to be with this, especially with the character that Joe's been having lately. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, you know, at Revolution, I'm just going to shave off your beard or something along those lines. Like, he already took the hair, right? So
he's going to go pretty far. I like, you know. Like, what was it? Like, if the Jeff Hardy story was any indication under a WWE watch, like, I mean, under AEW with as much as Max Caster is able to get away with, I feel like he's going to take it pretty far. But I think a pretty effective, like, storytelling build for Wardlow here. I'm seeing some criticism here from the chat room about maybe his delivery. I thought it was perfectly fine, personally. I think at this point he needs to be moving past the squash matches, you know, and the power bombs. He needs some deeper emotional attachment, and maybe this is it, you know. So we'll see. What do you think of the way he looks, by the way? How do you like the short hair on him or no?
He looks. I mean, he looks like a bigger Frankie Kazarian to me. I don't know, just like by the face and the hair. It's like, what else are you gonna do though? Like, I don't want to see him bald, so it's like, all right, he looks fine. Like, it is what it is. We're just saying that because he had the ponytail and now he doesn't. So it's like, if he just started like this, nobody would have even batted an eye. It's
true. It will take a bit of getting used to, though, because right now he definitely looks a little bit creative wrestler. But, you know, I think the story makes it, like, work, because every time you see him, you know, okay, he never chose to look like this. He looks like this because of this terrible, terrible Samoa Joe. Up next, we've got Mark Briscoe taking on Josh Woods here. So this is Mark Briscoe's first, I guess, or second, I should say, you know, AEW Dynamite match. And both guys are from Ring of Honor. In fact, they had a bit of a rivalry back in ROH. At one point, Daivari and Nice, who are stablemates of Josh Woods, they come out to attack Briscoe, but out come Penta and Phoenix to take them out. Is there some ongoing storyline between them?
Not that I know. I mean, this is the first time we've seen the Lucha Brothers in a long time. I know they were having visa issues along with Bandito, I think. So this is like their return, I guess. I was kind of surprised as how they did their return. But as far as I know, they don't really have any connection to Mark Briscoe, at least. I mean, they maybe have had matches with like Tony Nese and the Trustbusters and all these guys. But yeah, it was kind of a little random here. But I feel like it was just something for the Laredo, Texas crowd.
Yeah, maybe something to suggest, you know, a further match between the two, but I don't know if this was meant to, you know, draw an association between the Lucha Bros and Mark Briscoe. But anyway.
Yeah, and we didn't see Pac either, so it's like, are we going to be seeing trios matches between like Josh Woods, Daivari, and Nice against Briscoe and the Lucha Brothers? Because I'm not sure where Pac is in all this.
So huge reaction, as John mentioned, for the Lucha Brothers here in Laredo. Woods takes advantage of the distraction and hits a big corkscrew suplex from the apron to the floor on Mark Briscoe. After a commercial where Woods was dominant, Briscoe fights out, sets up a chair, and steps off of it to deliver a running somersault plancha. Briscoe then hits a splash mountain for 2. He calls for the J Driller, but Woods fights out to deliver pure chaos, his version of the chaos theory, for 2. Briscoe then lands a Death Valley driver. He points to the sky and hits the froggy bow for the win. Before we get to you, John, Mark Briscoe looks at the camera, points at the tag title, and says that the Briscoes are the baddest tag team in history. He says, Jay, I love you, boy, and I'm a carry on. What did you think of Mark Briscoe versus Josh Woods?
It was fun. I mean, Mark Briscoe has a lot of charisma, and it definitely shows in this. He did all the spots that the Briscoes were popular with the, diving off the chair and doing the froggy bow and doing the, the redneck kung fu. And shout out to Doom Tribe in the chat that just noted to us that Tony Khan put up a graphic that says Mark Briscoe is all elite. So what does that mean? Does that mean he's not going to be on Ring of Honor? It's kind of weird. I mean, he's still technically one half of the tag team champions, but I don't know what this actually means. I mean, he was under contract before, so I guess this means he's under AEW contract now.
Again, what does that even mean?
I don't know
anymore. I
guess he got drafted from Ring of Honor to AEW.
Who is an exclusive ROH person at this point? Like, didn't Claudio get an all elite graphic?
Yeah, right? Dalton Castle did, and so I guess Dalton Castle was Ring of Honor exclusive. Him and the boys. I don't really know. It's really weird. I guess we need to see a Ring of Honor roster page if they even have one on the website.
I think it would be, it wouldn't make sense after like going through as much as the Briscoes did and as much public support as there was to finally get, at least Mark Briscoe on TV for him to all of a sudden be ROH exclusive. Even though he completely embodies the brand, I think you can still do that. But he's somebody who I would imagine Tony would have on both shows,
if this means that Mark Briscoe is getting a paycheck from Ring of Honor and a paycheck from AEW, all the power to him.
Yes. Do Raw and SmackDown wrestlers who appear on both shows get paychecks from both of them?
Absolutely. Like, have you seen like Adam Pearce's bank account? He's getting paid from all types of shows. He's breaking into money. All
right. Up next. So, man. Okay. So, they promoted this interview between Adam Cole and Renee Paquette on Friday by teasing us with the clip. This was like a big enough interview that they needed to just give us a little bit of a taste or a little bit of a sample. And this interview could not have been more meaningless. Okay. We have a sit down here with Adam Cole and Renee, and
it's the remarkable Renee Paquette. I've noticed they started using that on AEW Dark. Whenever they mention her, it's the remarkable Renee Paquette. So they're doing a WWE trope where they're kind of hammering you over the head with some of the nicknames. And I noticed this, like the remarkable Renee. So it kind of has a ring to it.
That's her version of freaking.
I guess, yeah.
Renee, remarkable Renee Paquette. All right. Well, remarkable Renee Paquette asks Adam Cole about what it's like to be back, and Adam Cole says he has learned throughout this entire process to celebrate the many victories, including being able to go through a day and not feel like he needs to throw up. He hasn't had a chance to tell many chapters of his story yet, and he says this roster is so stacked he knows he needs to be prepared. But when Renee kind of prompts him for a name, Adam Cole does not give any names. He says it's going to be good for AEW and it's going to be good for Adam Cole. He didn't say shit here. They built this thing up like we were supposed to get something, and it's like this was as typical of like a hockey interview in the worst way as you could get. Like whenever like UFC fighters are interviewed by Joe Rogan afterwards, they often rightfully receive criticism when Rogan asks who you want to fight next and they don't name their opponent. Like, it's your chance to build interest. This is a fake sport, and this is a scripted interview that they, for some reason, decided to tee up, and Adam Cole gave us the most nothing interview ever. Like, what was the point of this?
Yeah, and like you hit it over the head, like they teased us with that clip of, he's going to reveal who the opponent is, and then he didn't say anything. It's like, and like, I don't know if it's just my warped wrestling mind, but I feel like he's like hitting us over the head too much with this like babyface like triumphant return story, to the point where it's like I feel like he has something up his sleeve that like we just don't know. He's trying to throw us off with something. That's just my idea. I don't know what the status of Kyle O'Reilly is or what's going on there, but I can see maybe him coming in and bringing in some people and going over going after the trios titles at some point.
That would be interesting. I think I've seen enough now of his babyface sort of like persona to be able to confidently say that he's probably better as a heel. I can't imagine that they're like, doing all of this just to swerve us, but I could see that that being the direction that they'll ultimately go to if he's not necessarily clicking as a babyface. I don't disagree with you. I think it feels a little bit forced right now, and like and a segment like this where you kind of tease that you're going to say something important and you just leave people feeling disappointed. That this certainly doesn't help.
I know you would probably ask me, but I'm going to ask you: where is Mike Bennett and Matt Taven? I haven't seen them on any shows. Maybe we'll see him in the tapings, but that's two of his former teammates. I could see them possibly teaming up with him or helping him out.
So Maria is right now. She's sidelined, I believe, right?
Gotcha.
So I don't think it's something that's going to take her off TV for too long. So correct me in chat room if I'm wrong. Siino, usually you're the one who corrects me about these things. So without Pollock here, we're just kind of flying aimless here. But I could see them maybe being a part of the ROH tapings coming up. This segment. MJF, and again, I'm going to flash nordvpn.com/postwrestling here because if I did not get to see the in-between commercial stuff here, and I'm assuming you did not, Siino.
No, please fill me in.
You would have missed the best part of this entire thing, okay?
Oh.
MJF comes out, and they do the thing where he comes out, and all you're seeing in the picture-in-picture is him coming out through the crowd, and he's just, like, taunting everybody. He, like, teases taking a picture with a fan, and he just rips the phone out of the dude's hand. He goes to the other corner, and he takes a beer and throws it right into a fan's face. He throws popcorn into a fan's face. He grabs the microphone while they're still off air, and he says, "We're not even on TV yet. I don't give a fuck. Oh, you don't like my language? Is it because we have kids in the crowd? Maybe if we weren't in Texas, they would have been aborted like they should have been."
Oh my god.
So
I wonder if this made it on the ESPN debut of AEW over there in Australia. Dickie Bird, let us know if you were able to see any of this.
yeah. Again, great promo for AEW Plus if you're not signed up. We're back on TV, and there are a ton of asshole chants, and you completely understand why at this point. He says to Danielson, "These people love you, and that bugs me, because at one time, these people loved me. They used to be devil worshippers, but he knows these people are fickle, so he turned on them before they could turn on him. But that's not the only reason he hates Bryan Danielson. He hates Bryan because he has these people convinced that he's better than them. Why? Because he does cool moves? Because he puts on 5-star matches? That's not why we get into the business. We get into this business to be world champion, and Danielson has not accomplished that in AEW yet. MJF knows he's going to be put through the hardest match of his life, but after the clock strikes 0, he will be victorious because MJF is the best wrestler in the world, not Bryan. As MJF is about to do his catchphrase, and as the crowd is about to join along, he cuts them off and says, "This isn't sing along with MJF." So, I mean, isn't that The Rock's line?
Yeah, he has used that before, yep.
But, I mean, if you're going to steal, you steal from the best, and certainly you can make those comparisons justifiably between the two. What did you think of MJF's portion of this promo?
It was fine. I mean, he repeated a lot of things that he's been saying, so I was hoping like something else would happen and we would get that would kind of take it to the next gear. But, it's him. Like, it makes sense now with him, like, what he did during the commercials that brought a lot of heat to him, because it's like MJF's one of those characters where it's like he's probably going to get cheered in most places. But so for him to do that during a commercial, and people like me who don't have NordVPN didn't see this, so it's like it seems like a natural like reaction that he's getting. So I thought it was pretty good from what we saw. I was just waiting for the next part, and this is what we ended up getting.
Dickie Bird in Australia watching live informs us that ESPN does in fact have commercials.
Okay.
So as John mentioned, MJF then says, if you won't listen to him, maybe you'll listen to a guy who is a mentor of Bryan Danielson's, the fallen angel, Christopher Daniels. At this point, MJF asked Daniels to speak the truth about Bryan, and this is when Daniels reveals that MJF paid him a ton of money to actually come out here to denigrate Bryan Danielson. Daniels says at one point in his career he would have gladly fulfilled the request, but now he will speak the truth, and the truth is that Bryan Danielson is going to kick MJF's dick into the dirt.
Which makes sense, because, Danielson gardening, right? Like, that makes perfect sense.
Yes, that is perfect, yeah. There's this term again. I mean, like, I've only heard it on AEW television. I guess it's a Texas thing. Like, wasn't the last time Paige saying it like somewhere?
I never heard that term, but it doesn't sound like pleasant at all.
No, it doesn't. I'm gonna. Will you try to use this in daily conversation?
Yeah, maybe when I go to work my next shift, I'll go ahead and
the Lego
use
store.
that. Yeah, I'll see how that works. Next time somebody asks for something that's sold out and get upset at me, I'll say,
Oh goodness! Well, with these prices, man, yeah, you might get some of that. Okay. So where am I? Dick in the dirt, right? He says he knew Bryan would be great from the moment he was punched by him when Bryan was only 20 years old. He knew it when Bryan won the King of the Indies in 2001, which was a tournament that inspired the creation of ROH. And he says if there wasn't an ROH, then there might not be an AEW, and there definitely wouldn't be an MJF. He says Bryan is a sponge and he's destined to be world champion, and he's on that path right now. He's exactly what MJF wishes he could be. He is the best wrestler in the world today, while MJF is just a fraud. At this point, MJF swats the mic out of Daniels' hand. Daniels is about to turn and walk away, but MJF grabs him, which prompts Daniels to slap him in the face, and then MJF proceeds to kick Chris Daniels' dick into the dirt as he applies his salt of the earth armbar as well, before Bryan comes out to save his friend. What do you think of the fallen angel portion of this segment?
I was happy he wasn't on MJF's side, because my fear was like, oh, he's gonna bash Danielson for no reason. So I like how he took the money and just kind of gave it right back to him. I'm not sure if we're gonna get a match out of this. I don't know if Chris Daniels is gonna just disappear and go to Ring of Honor land after this or whatever the case is, but I wouldn't mind seeing a match. I'm surprised they didn't announce it for next week on Dynamite or something.
Yeah, I could see it happening. It would be such MJF matches are so rare though that they might not have him wrestle at all until Revolution at this point. I thought it was great use of Chris Daniels here to draw upon the history and really to add a bit of name brand promotion for Ring of Honor. I think Daniels is, I don't know if you would even necessarily consider him underutilized at this point, just given his role backstage. But even though his in-ring value as a top star is probably past, but as a promo, I think he's still tremendous. So, if he has the time to offer, it's always a pleasure to see him on a TV.
I do like how they retconned Danielson being the reason why Ring of Honor was created, and that therefore being the reason why AEW was created and the reason why MGF was created. So it's this spiraling effect that without Bryan Danielson, it'd be nothing that we're watching today. So that's cool. And like you said, it's good promotion for Ring of Honor. And I feel like we're going to be getting that as we head to the premiere date. A lot of Ring of Honor references that are going to make people sign up and watch it.
Mm-hmm. The Guns deliver a video package. They are, of course, the new World Tag Team Champions. They brag about only having had 10 televised matches in their career so far, and they've only been wrestling together for 1 year. Colton says, "We're sorry we didn't go through the indies for $10 and a handshake. This isn't a fairy tale with a happy ending. Welcome to the Gun Show."
Does that mean they're going to be teaming up with Paul White? Is that what the Gun Show is?
Oh, interesting.
We never got a resolution to that. Remember when Billy Gunn turned on Paul White, and then he just went on commentary, and that was it. We never got any sort of resolution.
I feel like there are 20 unresolved Big Show, Paul White / Giant stories out there.
Yeah. Yep. You still got to get our Mark Henry Andrade. He interrupted him. We never got a payoff to that. So these poor guys, they get sent to commentary, and that's it. We don't ever see them wrestle again.
But you're right. I didn't think of it. The Shogun Show.
Shogun Show. There we go.
Shogun Show. Shoguns. What a terrible name for a team back then. Okay. I mean, what do you think of the Guns as champions?
I feel like it's gonna be a short-term thing. They obviously have a lot of challenges ahead of Revolution with this, fatal four-way match that's gonna be happening. It's good for the time being to kind of get them a little bit more TV time and a little bit more, mic time, I guess, just kind of rubbing it in all their opponents' faces. But I can't see it lasting past Revolution, to be honest with you. I'd be surprised. And I don't know where they would go after that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, maybe up until the Acclaimed, I should say, I feel like the AEW Tag Team Championships have very much been upheld by teams that are spectacular in ring. Up until the Acclaimed, where I feel like the Acclaimed are more known for their charisma than they are for the in ring. They're very good in ring up until at this point, but I would certainly say the Guns are more in the mold of the Acclaimed than Scorpio Sky and Kazarian, for instance, or the Jurassic Express. And I think at this point, I'm open to the idea that you don't necessarily have to be a 5-star wrestler in order to be a champion in AEW. You just simply have to excel in some field. And I'm looking for the Guns to excel in terms of personality and charisma. I think they're great heels, especially for the amount of time that they've been wrestling and have been together. So we'll see what they can do with the spotlight. Hopefully it's special enough. Jungle Boy versus Brian Cage here is up next, and this comes off of a Jungle Boy win over Brian Cage that they pulled out from the archive back in December. Jungle Boy delivers several dives, but Cage catches him on the outside and just drops him on the apron as he dominates through a commercial. And all through commercial, it's just Brian Cage tossing Jungle Boy everywhere, which was a lot of fun to watch, actually. Cage hits Perry with a buckle bomb, then an F5, and gets a 2 count. Perry then fights out, lands a DVD of his own, but Cage just kicks out at 1. We then just go to another barrage of big moves from Perry, including a crucifix bomb, super kick, big lariat to the back of Brian Cage's head, and then a roll-up, and Jack Perry beats Brian Cage one more time. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, I was a little surprised about the finish, honestly. Like, Cage was giving his all. He did like a slingshot powerbomb. He had like a move that they said reminded commentary like the Thoracic Express that he used to do as part of the tag team. Perry kicked out of an F5. Like, it was like, we're getting a lot of moves, a lot of big moves from Cage, and then here's a roll up for the pin and a win for Perry. It was pretty out of nowhere, I feel like, but it was a good win for Jack Perry. But I feel like this is Brian Cage's role now until like he's able to hopefully defend his title belt on these Ring of Honor shows.
I felt the same way. I thought the finish was a bit abrupt for the story that I thought they were going to tell. For something that I think was being positioned as like a hard-fought win from Perry. It ended up looking kind of easy for him at the end, and I don't know, maybe that's kind of partially what they want. He is certainly of a level, but I think Brian Cage should probably like be pushed harder than this. So who knows what it is, but after beating one Cage, seemingly sets
his
up
uncle, his uncle Christian, yeah,
the return of another Cage. He's just gonna go through the entire Cage family. He's gonna go after Luke, Nicholas. So that means he's going for the Coppolas as well.
Yeah, he's the entire Coppola family. Yes.
Damn. Wow. Sophia, watch out. Okay. So this is all a setup for the return of Christian Cage. His arm is still in a sling. Jack Perry charges, but Christian sprays him with something. The announcers think it smelled like mace. So
I don't know if mace has a. I know pepper spray has a smell. I'm not sure if mace. I've never been sprayed with mace. Thankfully,
is it mace pepper spray?
Is it the same thing? I don't know. I've never used any. I never smelt any. I never got any in my face. So I don't know.
If you've ever been hit with pepper spray, chat room, let us know. Christian takes his arm off the sling to reveal his healed arm, and he delivers the kill switch to Perry on the ramp. So,
I guess we're getting this match at Revolution, right? I mean, he's cleared to go. So
seems like it is. So
right. With Luchasaurus, I know they're dealing with some sort of like lawsuit with the mask design. So I'm guessing that's why the reason why he hasn't been on. I don't think he's injured or anything. Yeah. So I'm guessing he's had to go some sort of repackaging because of his mask not being able to use it anymore. I'm not sure what the deal with that is.
You also already did the Cage match, right? And
yeah. Well, just to have him like there in the storyline somehow, like if he's just been MIA.
Do you think we get an unmasking as a result of all this soon?
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Like he comes back and just like Perry just like takes him out in one night, takes off his mask. Yeah.
I don't even hate that. Like even like regardless of this lawsuit. I mean, I don't think he's a bad looking man from what I remember or what I've seen of him unmasked.
On Big Brother, wasn't he on Big Brother that one season? Yeah.
And you can argue, especially as a heel, he's kind of outgrown this dinosaur gimmick. So.
And what's funny is he it's not even a dinosaur. Like when he started in Lucha Underground, he was like a giant lizard, and then for some reason the crowd just started chanting Luchasaurus, and then he started using it. But he's not even a dinosaur; he's a giant lizard. But it is what it is.
We've got
Remarkable Renee, yeah.
Remarkable Renee, who is here to inform us that the Guns are going to defend their tag titles at Revolution against 2 other teams. Next week, there will be a traditional Revolution Tag Team Battle Royal to determine the first tag team opponents. And then in 2 weeks, there will be a Casino Battle Royal to determine the other tag team opponents.
So none of these matches have 300,000, 3 kings, and a baby stipulations,
no, the Casino one does.
Okay.
That's the Casino as far as I understand.
One. Okay.
So I think Casino is like when you have like 4 groups come out, right?
I don't know. This is like this overcomplicates it for me. It's just do a battle royal. Like I don't want to hear these stipulations for anything. To me it just overcomplicates things.
Yeah. So 2 battle royals basically. And at this point, the Acclaimed interrupt Remarkable Renee, and they're here to deliver a message to the Ass Boys. They say that it's no longer going to be a 3-way, it's going to be a 4-way because they're invoking their rematch clause, which I guess exists in AEW. Bowen says 1 team, 2 teams, 3 teams, fly them in from the Forbidden Door. It doesn't matter. So could that be a tease, John, that we're getting a Forbidden Door team as one of the participants?
I did kind of notice when they said that as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see like maybe like a team from, I don't know who's out there, like the Time Splitters could be a possibility. You could, you have them out there. You have Ace Austin and Chris Bay, maybe an Impact. They did mention some of the teams in next week's Battle Royal. The Best Friends, it was Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Lucha Brothers, Butcher and the Blade, Davari, Tony Nese, Matt Menard, Angela Parker, and John Silver and Alex Reynolds are the only announced entrants so far for next week. So is it one of those deals where like where all the losers next week get to like have another chance the following week? Because that's what they did last time.
Good question. Yeah. I mean, do they have enough teams to fill like 2 battle royals if they don't reuse?
And then where's all these other teams? Like, how come they didn't get their rematch clauses? Does FTR come back and say, hey, we never got a rematch. Can we be in this match? Like, everybody should just come back. Any tag team from the past should just say, hey, we never got a rematch. Like, we didn't know that was a thing here in AEW, and they'll just enter themselves in the match.
Maybe they didn't get to negotiate it the way the Acclaimed did. So Billy Gunn's evidently maybe, had a lot of experience in law.
Yeah,
so. But
the Forbidden Door tease is definitely going to lead to something, possibly from New Japan. Like, the only reason I said, I meant to say the Motor City Machine Guns, the only reason I mentioned that is because they're holding 2 sets of tag titles right now. They're the New Japan Strong champions as well as the Impact Tag Team champions, if I'm not mistaken. So,
all right. The Elite are in the back, and okay, let's get into the segment here. The Elite in the back. Nick asked if they've got Team Giannis or Team LeBron. Do you have a choice?
I'm going to go with Giannis because he appeared that one time on AEW and Tony Khan lost his mind announcing his name. So I feel like that's an AEW guy.
Okay. So in reference to the All-Star game that is going to take place on Friday, of course, that's actually preempting Rampage and pushing Rampage to 7 p.m. Eastern time. Kenny says it'll be close. But then out come AR Fox and Top Flight, who also said that, speaking of close, we almost beat you guys last week. They also show up with their basketballs, and they say that they almost beat them. And Top Flight, in fact, did beat the Bucks at one point. So they demand a rematch for Rampage Slam Dunk, which is what they're calling it this Friday. Callis and Nick say that the Elite want to watch the game instead, so they're going to be busy. At this point, Dante says, oh, we get it. You guys like to play with balls, but you don't have them.
I just want to see a 3-on-3 basketball game at this point. If you're going to do it this Friday. Like, it's 7 o'clock. It's, it's a good hook to have them come in, like, pre-tape it, show it during a Rampage, and just do a basketball game. If they beat them,
I'd be legitimately interested. But I've seen, like, Nick Jackson's, like, trick shots. I kind of feel like he might smoke everybody on that roster, but we'll see. So Kenny says that they're on. The ball comment, was more than enough to get him to grant a trios tag team championship. So again, 7 p.m. Friday is going to be this edition of Rampage.
Really quick, I don't know if you saw it, but there was a disruption. Okay, so you did see it. Okay, because at first I didn't catch it. And I had to go online to see it because, of course, I can't rewind on the app. So yeah, the House of Black had a little graphic. So I'm guessing that's going to be teasing maybe the winners of this match at Revolution.
I guess you would think so, if it's the Elite. So yeah, as Siino mentioned, I actually screenshotted here. Very much in the same vein as the White Rabbit teasers, we saw a bit of a cut in featuring the House of Black. So AEW.
This is the Black Rabbit. The Black Rabbit teasers that we're getting here.
Black Rabbit. Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, seemingly telling us what the Elite's next program will probably be, unless Top Flight and AR Fox win. It's always possible.
You never know.
Hangman Page takes on Kip Sabian coming up next. Of course, throughout the entire episode, they teased whether or not Hangman Page would be okay to join, and in fact, he was. Sabian starts, beating Page down throughout the commercial. We get Page coming back, and he hits the Deadeye. Sorry, my recap's not very big here for this one. Did I miss anything significant in the match?
No, not necessarily. I mean, at one point, they kind of on commentary, they brought up Kip Sabian wearing his box on his head and saying how stupid that was for him wearing that for over a year for whatever reason. But, just your standard back and forth match with, just another win for Page. But they made him, like, the excuse for Sabian having so much offense was, I think, because of the beatdown backstage. So it kind of made sense here.
Right. And then at the end here, they're like, the announcers are kind of teasing some weird blinking from Page as if like he's hiding something and not telling us. So
yeah, they were saying like he's having issues with his eye or something. So
yeah, well, he had a dead eye, clearly.
Well, it's funny because so is Adam Cole was having issues with his eye as well. It's like twitching in his eye. So maybe they're gonna have a match at Revolution. It'll be eye versus eye.
Well, I think the idea was to sell us the idea of maybe him being concussed. That's sort of been the theme of his feud with Page, with Mox, is who can concuss the other. So
right.
I don't know if they're trying to tell us that Page is going into this Mox match concussed, But
I mean, the only solution for any sort of concussion is to have a Texas death match, right? I mean,
of course, yes.
Yeah.
So out comes Mox, Claudio, and Yuta. Mox says that they don't have unfinished business. He already beat Page. He says he has some respect for him, but he doesn't have any fear for him. He knows that what he's going to do before he does it, and there's no chance Hangman will ever beat Mox again. Page says this does not end with a roll-up, and he challenges formally Mox to a match at Revolution. Mox says he was hoping that there'd be no one to warn him away from this direction, and says the emo cowboy has no friends. Cue the Dark Order as they come out, and they say that they are Hangman's friends. Page motions as if he told the Dark Order to stay in the back, but Evil Uno is very fired up here. He tells Page to get out of the way. Uno steps right up to Mox and says he and the Dark Order aren't afraid of Jon Moxley. He pie faces Jon Moxley, by far the most fired up and non-comedic I think we've seen Evil Uno. Mox says at Revolution he and Hangman Page will be in a Texas death match. So
I understand, like, these are Hangman's friends and they're trying to give him some sort of serious edge here, but just a visual of seeing like Claudio and John Silver, like obviously not being face to face, like having to stare down, and then Evil Uno with his mask on and his suit on going face to face with Moxley. Like, it's after seeing these guys being so comedic all these years, it's like now we have to take them seriously. It was kind of like, I don't know, like you're going to fight like the Warriors and you have like the gang from like Sesame Street coming out to help you. It just didn't feel right. Like, it's like there was no build to this. Kind of came out of nowhere. So it's like these are the same guys were just cracking jokes on Monday on being the Elite. So it's like it's a little weird, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody for a second expects any sort of like, you know, upset victory here from Evil Uno. I will say, I think if you showcase this side of Evil Uno enough, you know, this sort of like genuinely pissed off, fiery side, any comedian can get angry. Okay, like we saw. You know, like that Will Smith and Chris Rock situation. Two very funny guys normally turn into a very serious, heated, interaction in a very short amount of time. You can get serious with almost anybody.
Yeah, it didn't help though that Moxley, like after Uno kind of went in his face, Moxley literally just ignored him and looked over him and challenged Moxley to a match. Like he had nothing to say to Uno, which is like, maybe that's in storyline, like I'm not going to take you seriously, but you could have said something or pushed him back.
Well, that might be the story of the match. You know, Mox is overlooking Uno, and I'm sure that, you know, in the body of the match, you're going to see Evil Uno try to give him a bit of a run. So we'll see. JAS are in the back. Jericho continues to deny Ricky Starks a match and says Starks is not at his level. Daniel Garcia says that he can't face Jericho, but he's got a match with him on Friday. Starks versus Garcia on Friday. They all go through what Starks is absolutely blank, and Garcia calls him an absolute fraud. Hager says he's an absolutely, I like this hat.
It's like absolutely annoying, absolutely delusional, absolutely I love this hat. Not I absolutely love this hat, absolutely I love this hat. So it was, you know, Jake Hager doing Jake Hager things.
I love this gimmick.
It's funny.
It works for him so well. He plays like dumb, goofy idiot perfectly. I love it. Okay, Excalibur Rundown here. Rampage, 7 p.m. ahead of the NBA All-Star Game. We've got Daniel Garcia versus Ricky Starks for the Trios Championship, a rematch between the Elite and Top Flight and AR Fox. For the TBS Championship, we have Jade Cargill versus Burt Vixen, Swerve Scott versus Dustin Rhodes as well. In a match contested over Doritos and Black History Month.
Yeah, Dustin's getting, you know, on Monday nights, on Wednesday nights, he's getting called out everywhere. This poor guy, like, he just wants to wrestle him, you know?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, we're going to get it, right? But that might be the lead-in to the basketball game, so we'll see. Revolution, March 5th, we've got MJF versus Danielson for the World Championship, Joe versus Wardlow for the TNT title, the Guns versus the Acclaimed, and 2 other teams to be determined, and Mox versus Page in a Texas death match thus far. Next week on Dynamite, Moxley versus Uno, and then the first of 2 Revolution Tag Team Battle Royals. So that's that. Stokely Hathaway is interviewed in the back, and he's dressed in all black because he says he deserves justice for what Hook did to him by grabbing him by the arm, breaking his arm, and injuring him. Stokely says Hook should be fired. He says he was on the phone with Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and Angela Davis. And Toni informed Stokely that Hook was suspended pending an investigation in the middle of this interview. And then Matt Hardy says he threw some sort of like party for the firm. What was all this?
I didn't see this party. This wasn't on Dark. Like, they didn't have a party. It was just Ethan Page and Matt Hardy hugged it out. And and Matt Hardy gave Ethan Page a new shirt. There wasn't any party unless they just filmed it for something I didn't watch.
I don't know, dude. There must have been some punchline I missed here while trying to keep up with this. It might have been something on Being the Elite.
Maybe it was a private party.
That's it. A private Hardy party. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't care. So don't even tell me what I missed. In the main event, we've got Toni Storm versus Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho. This was, of course, the match that was supposed to take place last week. Was it?
I think last week or the week before.
Or 2 weeks before, yeah. Before Britt Baker's injury. So they're running it back here. And they have the main event. Taz has to kind of react, by playing professionally unflustered, after hearing the Hook suspension news. Saraya and Toni Storm, as they walk out, they attack a fan with a DMD sign in the crowd, and they threaten to spray paint her, but out comes Ruby Soho to the rescue. They do some opening sequences, and after a commercial, Britt Baker goes on a big babyface run, but Saraya interrupts her on the outside. Britt delivers a schoolgirl, which forces Toni to deliver a German suplex to Soho out of the corner. Britt and Toni then deliver some pretty hard-hitting offense to each other. Storm then applies the Texas Cloverleaf on Soho, as Britt also applies the lockjaw to Soho at the same time. Saraya then comes out to break that up. She attacks Baker, and at this point, Saraya takes her spray paint as Toni Storm is in the corner, and Saraya spray paints an L on Toni Storm's butt before Toni Storm delivers the hip attack. I'm all for showmanship. I'm all for I don't know, Grandmaster Sexay putting on his goggles before delivering the hip hop drop. I'm all for Scotty 2 Hotty bouncing around doing the worm before doing that chop. I couldn't understand this, okay? First of all, these two have been, they've been using this as their way of humiliating their opponents by spray painting them. So now Toni Storm is willingly allowing her partner to spray paint her. A hell of a dry cleaning bill that I'm sure Toni Storm has to pay for now. And it just adds no impact. This was just stupid.
I don't know if they're deliberately just trying to be bad, or maybe because they weren't even calling them the Outsiders. They had a new name for them. They kept calling them the Freelancers. That was their new line. I'm not sure if that's the name they're going to keep.
Yeah, and have we ever had Scott Hall spray paint Kevin Nash ahead of
his big
I don't know,
right? Put an L as no, I don't think they did that in a WCW. But this was weird. This was even the opening thing with the fan, where first of all security just didn't give a shit. They just mess up this fan, do whatever the hell you want to do. And then not only that, but when Ruby Soho's music hit, she just casually just walked. She didn't even care. She didn't you think a babyface face would run and be leave the fan alone. She didn't care. She's
supposed to play impartial, and that's the problem with this entire thing. One among several problems is the fact that in the midst of I guess a pretty clear heel in Saraya, too clear, we could say, in Saraya and Toni Storm, you have, I think, baby faces in Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker, but you have to also portray Ruby Soho as having to choose between the two, and I just don't think there's been enough good storytelling to have us believe that,
Really quick, who's the AEW Women's Champion?
Jamie Hayter.
Where is she in all this? What's the match? What's the end game? What is this leading to? I don't know what this is the whole storyline is which side is Ruby going to choose? And it just this whole thing just is a mess to me. I don't know. I want to support it. I like all these women, but I just don't know what this is leading to. I don't know what the end game to this is, and it's all sloppy. The whole thing is literally sloppy with the spray paint and everything. It's just I don't know.
So after this incredibly devastating spray painted hip attack from Toni Storm, Ruby Soho just comes in, throws Toni Storm out of the ring onto Saraya, and she pins Britt Baker. So Ruby Soho wins. The action I thought was fine, but I thought that this finish was, including that move, was just so incredibly stupid.
Was the idea to get the L from Toni's butt and somehow take that L and place it on, was it Britt was in the corner, place it on her face? Is that what they're trying to do? Because I don't think that's how spray paint works.
Don't touch wet paint,
Yeah, and it works for paint. I don't think it works for spray paint. I could be wrong, but
right. No, it's it's one of the dumbest spots I've ever seen. Anyway, afterwards, Saraya and Hayter argue of course, and they do to really, in case you don't get the fact that Ruby Soho is caught in between them, they literally have Ruby Soho stuck in between Saraya and Jamie Hayter as the two are arguing, as Soho wants the both of them to stop. I think a good match, fine, but awful storytelling thus far in this feud.
I mean, I like how they've recently been not putting the women's matches at the 9:30 thing. That's a good thing. But if you're gonna do it, don't close the show with a baby face in the middle of the ring trying to decide which heel to join. Like, it just, I don't know, the whole finish was just flat to me. It's like they need a stronger hook if they want people to be interested in the storyline at all. It
really feels like this is like a form of like a WWE storyline, or I mean, fine, go back and call it a WCW storyline, but I would actually say like worse written than a WWF storyline. I think it should just be about like in AEW, like who could be a better wrestler, and who is the better wrestler, like people that were brought up in AEW, or people that have had the experience of a major league promotion like the WWE. I think we could have maybe kept it to that without a whole lot of this like overtly heel stuff, like with the spray paint. I get it's maybe a callback to the NWO, but I just think it's been done. It's such a poor facsimile.
So quick question. So if this is going to lead, let's just say this leads to a 6-woman match, and Ruby sides with Baker and Jamie Hayter, can you see somebody else coming in to join with Toni Storm and Saraya?
From like an ex-WWE person?
Like a Naomi, for example. Just first person that pops in my head. I can't see her personally, but just somebody of that caliber. Like a Mandy Rose would be perfect, honestly. I feel like she would be probably perfect in that role.
She would be. Honestly, at this point, I feel like anybody entering this program, like who has a certain level of star power, I would consider this to be a bit of a downgrade. Like, I would want to divorce them from this program and just kind of start them fresh themselves. But if it was somebody currently on the roster or somebody like, I don't know, even like an Ember, Athena, I wouldn't throw her into this. I think
she's too busy feuding with Yuka Sakazaki over there in Ring of Honor land. So
yeah, could there be a third? Maybe they'll just keep it to 2, and then where does Soho fit in? Or maybe Hayter is not a part of this, and Hayter goes off and does her own thing.
Does her own thing, yeah, that's true. I don't know, just like my brain is just trying to understand what this is leading to, like what the end game is. So hopefully we'll find out pretty soon, because we only got a couple more weeks before Revolution.
So that is AEW Dynamite tonight. I'm sorry, everybody. I forgot to in the midst of all this chaos, I forgot to leave the feedback thread. So no feedback for today, because it's going to be a bit of a longer show anyway. But your thoughts overall on AEW Dynamite tonight?
No, it was a good show. The matches it's because last week when they announced this lineup, I was like, I think I even messaged you. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of a weaker lineup than what we're used to with Dynamite. But the Texas Tornado match was good. The opening match was good as well. The MGF promo was really good. The only like really negative I would say would be the women's match, unfortunately, the main event. I did like what they're doing with Moxley and Paige. Like, we finally know what that's leading to with their match. But yeah, overall, it's a thumbs up show, I would say.
So a couple in the chat room are saying they set up Hayter versus Soho at the end of this. Was this for like I guess Soho getting the win would lead you to think it was something. I might have missed some detail at the end of the show, but that could be a direction that they're headed to.
Somebody's asking again what happened to Sheeta. Yeah, we don't know. She was part of the storyline, right?
She was on the Jericho cruise, so okay. I mean, she was at least stateside, but she's also got her zombie show in Japan. I don't know where she is at this moment. I would suggest people follow her Instagram. So Mad Dog here. Thank you, Mad Dog. He says she stared at the belt. So Ruby Soho, I'm assuming. So
okay,
she stared at the belt, and yeah, that's probably where they're going. Okay, so that is AEW Dynamite for tonight. Before we get out of here, let's get into a bit of a preview for Elimination Chamber on Saturday. Siino, what's your interest level at this point, several days out for this pay-per-view?
Extremely high, honestly, like on the level of like their major shows like a Rumble or WrestleMania. Honestly, this whole storyline has been one of my favorite things with the whole bloodline, Sami Zayn. I'm really interested in how they're going to play this out. I'm interested in how the crowd's going to be. I'm really jealous that you're going there. I mean, have a blast, obviously, but I feel like that crowd's going to be electric. I kind of see where this is going. We'll obviously go over the preview with some of the predictions, but I just feel like this whole show was going to be hot because when's the last time Montreal even had a pay-per-view? It's been a long time, right?
I think like Sami Zayn said, like like 20 something years,
Yeah.
or something like that.
I feel like this crowd I feel like is gonna be hot from beginning to end for this show. But yeah, the whole Bloodline storyline is fantastic, and I can't wait to see this. And it kind of reminds me of like when the whole like Bret Hart Shawn Michaels feud, and you had like some weeks there had Raw in Canada, then you had, you know what I mean, like you had the hometown advantage, and I feel like that's what we're gonna get here with Sami Zayn being in his home turf in this feud.
Well, let's start things off here with the men's Elimination Chamber match. We have Montez Ford taking on Johnny Gargano, taking on Bronson Reed, taking on Seth freaking Rollins, apologies, taking on Damian Priest, and taking on the champion, Austin Theory, for the United States Championship. You know, we have, I think, the makings of a pretty good match here, you know, between a high flyer like a Montez Ford to a giant who can also do a bit of high flying himself in Bronson Reed, to, of course, like your all-star workers in a Johnny Gargano and a Seth Rollins, to a giant in Damian Priest. And Austin Theory is there as well. But what do you think about this match in terms of quality, and also some of the big stories and maybe some of the highlights and show stealers that could be a part of this team?
Yeah, I'm loving this. Like you said, it's a very diverse lineup here. I'm hoping this is like Montez's like breakout match that we're gonna look at like years in the future. Like this is the match that made Montez like the star that he is today. Like you said, Bronson Reed, I'm sure he's gonna do the tsunami splash off one of the pods. Yeah, this match I think is gonna be great. Honestly, I think that Rollins is gonna win this. That's my prediction, because I feel like that could elevate the match with Logan Paul, with the potential of maybe Logan Paul actually winning a championship at WrestleMania. Could be something. But so I feel like that will be the person to walk out with this, would be Rollins. But I think the match is just going to be fantastic overall.
I kind of didn't Theory just beat Rollins for it?
Yeah, it was pretty recent. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I see I don't know if I see them hot potatoing this title back and forth quite so often. I think Austin Theory keeps it, you know, just to kind of like keep some momentum for him heading into the Cena match at Mania. I think Rollins continues his, you know, he doesn't have a WrestleMania story until Logan Paul inevitably shows up. And obviously, he's going to have a tremendous performance, as is Austin Theory. I kind of kid about him. But, you know, as far as standouts go, I'm looking for Montez Ford and Bronson Reed to have some pretty spectacular moments in this match. I'm looking for Johnny Gargano, you know, to be one of the talks of this. You know, this is a Elimination Chamber helmed by Paul Levesque, and Gargano, you know, up until this point, I would say he's been kind of disappointing in his main roster run without anything really all that notable, like being almost a side character in this Miz versus Dexter Lumis match. This is going to be a chance for Gargano to hopefully take center stage. Hopefully he's in there for quite a bit, and hopefully he impresses just through his, you know, great underdog sort of abilities. Priest also is incredibly hot right now as part of Judgment Day, so he might last there until, you know, towards the end.
And I looked up when Theory won the title. It was actually back in Survivor Series November. And looking at the last couple of champions, the average like length for holding the title has been about 3 months. So it does, like, I guess, it does kind of like make sense if he were to lose it. But like, who knows? Like, I didn't even think of the whole John Cena thing. I guess that would make sense, obviously, as well. He's been doing the whole champions here thing. If they are going that direction with Cena and Theory, I guess he would lead the title on Theory.
All right, up next, we've got in the Women's Elimination Chamber, we have Asuka taking on Raquel Rodriguez, taking on Natalya, taking on Liv Morgan, taking on Carmella, taking on Nikki Cross. So, for me, I much like the Rumble this year, I feel like they've done such a poor job of creating any sort of like storyline in the women's division to make you think that any of them could be a legitimate contender, that I have pretty low interest in this match in terms of story. I think you're looking at this picture and who can you justifiably consider as a WrestleMania title contender here?
Yeah, like it's been Asuka for me since they announced this match. When they had that little tease on Monday between Becky and Bayley, I'm okay, that's cool. They're gonna add somebody else who could potentially win this match. That didn't happen. And like you said, there's no storyline going through any of these women. The only storyline with this in these competitors is Nikki Cross and Candice LeRae, and Candice is not even in this match. So it's like literally there is no story. The only story is Asuka has this new character that's more vicious and more scary. So she's gonna win, obviously. And that's the match that we're gonna want to see, is gonna be her and Bianca.
They've done nothing to like tell you why each of these women wants to win a championship or wants to go on to WrestleMania to win a championship. You know, Natalya's thing has been anti Ronda and Shayna. Has Liv Morgan like suggested any?
Last time we heard her talk was when she said she's going to be number 1 in the Rumble, and then she ended up being number 2. And like, where's her promo about being number 1 in the Chamber? Like, she hasn't said that. And what's funny is when they teased Becky and Bayley, I actually liked the idea, because my first thought was, well, how are they going to have a 7th person if they only have 6 pods? And my thought was, okay, if they start as a triple threat, that makes perfect sense. There's 3 women in the ring. And I was like, that was a really interesting idea, and it never happened. But like you said, we haven't heard anything from Liv.
There might have been one line from Raquel about, like, I don't know, wanting to win the championship at some point, but like certainly nothing substantial to make you think that any of them have a chance. Now, it could be sort of an out of nowhere pick, and I would say Raquel Rodriguez has a chance of being that out of nowhere pick. She has size, and I think you could always promote somebody with size to. Well, who's the champion that they'd be going after? Bianca?
Bianca, yeah. And I know that like Raquel and Bianca, I'm pretty sure are pretty close from their NXT days, if I'm not mistaken. So there is a story there, but like Raquel has lost a lot of momentum since they debuted her. She didn't really have that much to begin with, but like she's definitely like not, I feel like, main event WrestleMania championship caliber at this point.
Doesn't feel like it this year.
No.
Conversely, Asuka coming back from the Rumble with this renewed look. She doesn't even have to, say too much, and already feels like she's a bigger deal. Already feels like she's a star. Feels like the only option, quite frankly, to go up against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania. So, seems like a pretty obvious conclusion, but we'll see. Asuka. We'll see how they get there. I mean, Liv Morgan too. It's really too bad. I think she, had some momentum, throughout the year, but it's kind of felt pretty flat recently. Okay, up next we've got Edge and Beth Phoenix taking on the Judgment Days, Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley, presumably with Dominic Mysterio somewhere here in a mixed tag team match. What do you think about this? The Grid couple making a return here in Canada, and the Judgment Day incredibly hot right now, especially Rhea Ripley, as Rhea is about to challenge Charlotte for the championship at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if Rhea didn't win the Rumble, this is a match that I could have seen for WrestleMania. But the fact that we're getting it here in Montreal and Canada is good for Edge, obviously. I can't see Rhea taking the loss in this match because of the fact that she's fighting Charlotte at Mania. So I'm going to go with the Judgment Day winning this match. But I'm just interested, because I'll be honest with you, like, I'm not too interested in Edge and Finn Balor WrestleMania. I think that's the direction that they're going to. I don't really think that, like, I love Judgment Day right now, but I feel like that's not, like, unless they add some sort of stipulation to it or some sort of gimmick, I can't see that being a match that really, like, intrigues me going into WrestleMania.
And they've already done the tag match, right? With Rey and Edge.
Yeah. And they've done Edge and Balor, like, pretty recently. So it's like, I don't see that, like, being, like, WrestleMania caliber to me, at least.
I can see like Edge and Balor being a more attractive match if you throw it in some interesting stipulation or structure attached to it. This could be Edge's last WrestleMania, and maybe to kind of make it unique, maybe they could throw in like a TLC stipulation or something, which would be ridiculous, actually, especially at the man's age. But I wouldn't discount maybe a chair stipulation, I guess, would make more sense for him. In terms of finish, I think it would be Beth taking the loss. As you mentioned, Rhea going for a championship. She's so incredibly strong. She's not going to take any loss. And I don't even know if Balor is either, because I think that would just kind of extinguish whatever heat there might be. I think you have to extinguish it. Well, you know what? He could certainly afford the loss, and then they'll beat down Edge and Phoenix afterwards. But it's hard for me to pick this one because, like, after the scene in which they concerto with Beth, like, I think the heels need their comeuppance. So maybe Edge and Phoenix, actually, I'm actually going to change, and Balor takes the pinfall and then just regains his heat back afterwards.
Okay, I can see that happening. Yeah, it's one of those matches where either way, I feel like yeah, obviously if Balor's gonna be the one that's gonna take the pin if they lose, and vice versa, like you said, Beth is gonna have to take the pin if they lose. But yeah, we'll see. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping, like, I would like to see Rey versus Dominic, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a tag team match with Edge and Rey versus Dominic and Finn at Mania.
Yeah, well, I was saying, didn't they already do that match, or am I mistaken? Did they do Edge and Rey with somebody else?
It's possible.
Dominic and Finn. I could be wrong, because I think that would be the match. They had
a 6-man match. It was Dominic, Edge, and Rey. But yeah, I don't see any opposition between. Yeah, Edge and Dominic had a 1-on-1 match, and that's it. But there was no. Yeah.
I think that'd be good. It almost feels too soon to, like, go to Rey versus Dominic, because I think you could drag that, a little bit longer than like towards a SummerSlam or something. So I like it, but we'll see where they go. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. This is a match. They did a contract signing on Monday for it. no stipulation for it. It's a singles match. And do you expect this to have a conclusive ending?
I think so, because I can't see them having this match and the rematch like right away at WrestleMania, unless that's going to be a stipulation match, which I can't see that really happening. I honestly think this is going to be a quick match for Brock to win.
Sorry, is that you don't see them having this rematch at WrestleMania?
No, I don't know why. For some reason, I don't see this being like redone at WrestleMania. Maybe just me not wanting to see that at WrestleMania. I'd rather see Brock and Gunther, as everybody else in the world wants to see that. So I'm even just telling myself, my brain, to just not want that rematch. But I hope this is just like a quick little like roadblock for Brock before he actually fights Gunther at Mania. But I don't see this match being too long. Maybe like 6-7 minutes, just like a quick work for Brock.
I'm strictly going by what I hear about reports stating that this is still penciled in, but I mean at this point, who knows? Maybe my news is outdated.
So I mean, if they do the rematch, I mean, it's gonna have to be a stipulation. What would you do? Like, let's false count anywhere? Like, I guess there really isn't much I can see with these two doing. They're not gonna do a TLC match.
Dick into the dirt match.
Dick into the dirt match. Yeah. A bulldozer match or something. Like, bring your own vehicle of choice and kind of like what Giant and Hulk Hogan did at Cobo Hall. Just bring your go on the roof of wherever the SoFi Stadium.
Well, if we're strictly talking about personal preference, I'm with you. I don't want to see this rematch again. I mean, I feel like we've seen it plenty of times at this point, and that almost guarantees some sort of bullshit finish on Saturday, which I think would just more so turn people off than get them interested. I do feel like there's if you do want to make this more interesting, and if you do intend on delaying it till WrestleMania, I think they got to go the way of like the major stunt, like the way they did with Brock Lesnar bringing a bulldozer out and creating the spectacular scene. Even though it wiped away the finish of the match, you're leaving the audience feeling like they saw something special. And, with these two, I think that's possible, but this is not going to be a show closing match either. So we'll see what they can do. All right. That is that, except of course for the main event. The main event of all main events ever. Roman Reigns versus Sami Zayn for the undisputed Universal Championship. Siino, I need to know from you, first of all, not just your prediction on who's going to win, but what happens in this match. Who comes in? How do you book this finish?
I would have Paul Heyman spray paint Roman Reigns' butt with a L and have in all seriousness, I think the whole like Uso stay at home thing is solely for Jimmy, and I feel like Jay is gonna find his way into Montreal, and everybody's gonna think he's gonna help out Sammy, but he's not. He's gonna end up causing Sammy the loss. Unfortunately, that's gonna be a big heartbreak, and maybe they'll start attacking him after the match, and that's when Kevin Owens. I think it's kind of like I feel like it's everybody's kind of predicting this in a way, but then Kevin Owens comes out for the save, and that's your match for Mania. Kevin Owens and Sammy against the Usos, but Roman has to win, obviously, right? I can't see Cody getting involved in this. Cody is not on this card at all. Now that I think about it, he has no involvement. Do you see him maybe being involved in this match somehow, or because they already set up some sort of friendship, right? So let's just say there was a bloodline beatdown, and Cody would have to come out as well. You would think, right? Not only Kevin Owens.
Interesting. Yeah, actually, maybe as a way to kind of further the team up and the audience, Canadian specifically, support for Cody, to have him come to Sami's aid and be on his side, I think would probably be an effective way of doing it. I also wonder if they're at this point, not wanting to risk it and just, avoiding having Cody at all appear in this scene. But I think that would be a good way. Yeah, Kevin Owens is another, kind of lingering person that's out there that we could presume will make an appearance. A bit of an update here. Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio did state that he was told that both Usos are actually cleared to enter. That doesn't necessarily mean, Jimmy will. And in fact, I don't know if there's a storyline reason for Jimmy to be there. He should be listening to orders.
It would just make the beatdown, I guess, more if there's more people there were Solo and Jimmy and Jay. If there was a total beatdown on the bloodline on Sammy before Kevin Owens comes out for the eventual save, you would think. But yeah, that's good. That's good to hear that they're both allowed.
Yeah. So, I think we can expect Kevin Owens involvement. I think we can expect Jey Uso involvement. And at this point, this will probably spell out what the direction is for Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. If it is, in fact, a tag team match with Kevin Owens, then we'll see how this leads off. But it's not even so much about the ending of the match as, you know, the incredible atmosphere that I think is sure that is going to be there. I mean,
Does
Montreal,
he come out to his old music?
I think they have to.
They have to, right?
They have to.
They're already chanting the Ole Ole at on Raw, so I can see that for one night only. I think he said somewhere about like he'd rather have new music, but nobody's gonna know what the new music is, right? So you might as well have the old music for one night.
I mean, is it a CFO song? You know, could it be a Johnny Gargano situation where they had to like remake it?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure like some people in WWE are still using their CFO songs, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
I'm pretty sure like Bianca is CFO. She's been using that same song forever, and Johnny went back to CFO for one night, so I'm sure they can do it for one night. They can just send CFO a paycheck and
whatever it costs, you know. And I don't think it's an issue of CFOs. It's the publishing company, but whatever it costs, I mean, they got to pay for that for one night because in Montreal, it's going to be crazy. But you know, I'm very curious to see what they do in this match to keep Sami a star, to keep him hot enough coming out of WrestleMania, because I think the Cody Rhodes Sami Zayn tease on Monday wasn't just done to build attention and the possibility of Sami Zayn winning on Saturday. I think they want to eventually do Cody Rhodes versus Sami Zayn, and that means you have to keep Sami Zayn not just, you know, number one, fine, but maybe a number two in terms of babyface without Roman Reigns being there. So they got to retain that value because they have a real big potential star on their hands. So
can you see them holding that all the way until Money in the Bank and having maybe that be a thing that Sami wins and uses on Cody?
I like that a lot. Yeah. If you're going to have a babyface Money in the Bank winner, I think that's great.
Actually announced a match ahead, and you set it up for like, because what, Money in the Bank is before SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken?
I believe so.
So
I don't know if they changed that recently, but
so if you do Money in the Bank in London and then Sami wins it and say, hey, I want the match with Cody. If Cody wins, obviously, I want the match at SummerSlam. There you go.
Very interesting. So that is WWE's Elimination Chamber. John Pollock and I will be live in Montreal all weekend, so we'll be doing a show about Rewind to SmackDown. So that, again, this will probably affect our live start times, but rest assured we will have shows up there by the morning for all of you guys, either listening on Friday on the Post Wrestling Cafe for Rewind to SmackDown or on Saturday/Sunday morning for our Elimination Chamber post show. Whenever we record, I'm sure we will probably go live here on youtube.com/postwrestling, but we're not so sure about the start time because we're going to be at the post-fight press conference actually on Saturday night. So there's a lot there. I want to get to some super chats here that I forgot to mention here, and I want to thank you, Biff. Our friend Biff sends in $10 to say, finally watching live. Thanks for the entertainment. Watch MLW Underground.
Yep, I watched it today. A fantastic match between Calvin Tankman and Willie Mack. You would think these two guys are cruiserweights the way they move. These two had a hell of a match, these two big guys. MLW Underground's been great the 2 weeks that it's been on so far, and you can listen to me talk about it on Shot in the Dark. So thank you, Biff. Shout out to Biff. I hope to see you soon one of these MLW shows. Thank
you so much, Biff, as always, for the support. We also got a Jake from the Windy City who sends $2 who says, Wai, I hope you and John run into Ariel in Montreal. Yeah, I'm assuming Ariel is there. I mean, he'll probably be doing some coverage for it, and of course it's also his hometown. So we have a lot of like interactions and meetings with a lot of people that week already. So we're going to try to catch up with Kate from Montreal. We're going to try to catch up with the postmaster Robert Brocky. We're going to try to catch up with Brandon Thurston as well, who will also be there. So Ariel, I'm sure, is going to be busy as hell too. So we'll see if we have enough time to catch up with him. Very quickly, coming up on the site this weekend, okay? First of all, the man that never sleeps. I thought it was John Pollock. Evidently, it is also John Siino, because if this isn't enough John Siino for you, John Siino will also be appearing on this weekend's edition of the Long and Winding Royal Road with WH Park. What will you two be talking about?
We were talking about Dan Crawford versus Rob Van Dam in Old Japan. I think it was 1994 or 5. I probably got the year wrong. Great match. I just wanted to pick two people that WH didn't discuss yet on the Long and Winding Royal Road. So we actually enjoyed this match. It's like Rob Van Dam's like highest singles rated match. That's like not Jerry Lynn, I want to say. So and of course, me and WH, as you can attest to, always have a fun banter back and forth. Discussing anything.
You are my favorite. Like, honestly, I know you guys don't normally do a podcast together, but like you're probably my favorite like post wrestling couple. The way that you guys interact. And
don't worry, there'll be more. After he finished listening to What Up Though on the Poison Rana feed with me and B Detroit, he asked for an invitation, so I could see WH possibly coming on and discussing Cool G Rap and Big Daddy Kane on the future episode of What Up Though.
You bring out a side of WH that is like maybe his most like his most WH is the best way that I could put it. So look forward to that on Saturday on the Post Wrestling feed. And then, of course, tomorrow I will be live here at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for the Wellness Policy. It is our man Neil's birthday. So
Happy
to celebrate,
birthday, Neil.
happy birthday, Neil, right now in Ireland. And to celebrate, we are letting him choose the topic, and he has chosen the topic of friendship. How do we maintain our friendships as we, get up there and get busier with wrestling podcasts and things like that? So we will be talking about it and inviting all of you guys to join us. Look for the link in the Post Wrestling Cafe feeds and also our social media at Post Wrestling for that. John will return also tomorrow with an interview with John Nash from Bloody Elbow, talking about the UFC contract change story that John Nash has done a lot of great reporting on. So those of you that are interested in the UFC or just sports contracts, and especially as it relates to combat sports, do check this out. This will be also out tomorrow at youtube.com/postwrestling, as well as our free feed. I believe John is also speaking to Pat LaPrade at some point this week about the career of Sami Zayn. Of course, Pat is a personal friend of Sami Zayn's and has documented and witnessed firsthand, the entire career of Sami Zayn from Montreal. So I'm very much looking forward to that podcast. And then, again, this weekend, we're off to Elimination Chamber. Again, no live edition of Rewind-A-SmackDown on Friday, but we will have a show recorded in Montreal for all patrons at postwrestlingcafe.com. So, John Siino, thank you so much again for bailing us out and saving us from, a show just of me, which would be awful, awful, awful.
Of course, anytime. Like you said, throw up the signal in the sky, and I'll be there.
Where can people hear more of you? This is your chance to promote wherever you can hear John Siino.
Yeah, if you go to poisonroundup.ca, you'll see all our links to all our socials there. My own personal socials, CNOEVIL on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. Check me out. Like I mentioned, Shot in the Dark every Thursday morning. Hopefully, if I could record it tomorrow morning, I'm sure I will be able to before a reasonable time. But this week, I'm talking about a superhero versus supervillain match on Level Up with Axiom and Scripps. That was kind of interesting. You had Indy Hartwell and the Creed brothers on main event. You had Athena attacking Yuka Sakazaki on AEW Dark. A lot of interesting things that happened on this week episode. So definitely check it out. And like Wai said, me and WH this weekend as well in the Long and Winding Road.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening and tuning in live. We will catch you guys later this week. Bye-bye.